Peace and blessings. This is your brother Capra hollering at you again. Tonight I'm going to talk about the seventh Odu, Obara Meji. Have you ever heard the phrase, humiliation before honor? Well, this Odu is an example of that. And it's where Shango speaks, as well as where Shango achieves his ascension and becomes an Orisha through humility. So he realizes his divinity through humility. Now, of course, there's the idea of Shango as the fourth Olafin of the Yoruba people of Oyo. But also, there's Shango, the primordial Orisha, the Irumale. We'll talk more about that later. But anyway, this is an Odu of strength, wisdom, power, and how to handle that power. Power is the ability to make things happen. So you have to be mindful of what you do with that power, be mindful of your temper, and not to take advantage of people who you consider to be less powerful or bully them. Obara Meji reminds us to think clearly before we take an action. You have to understand why it's important to take action strategically, but at the same time, not staying in your head, but getting out and executing. You see, a lot of times when we run across a problem, our instinct is to go into our head. That's where it appears to be safe. But the thing is that in the objective realm around you, things still have to take place. Bills still got to be paid. You know, if you have children or a family, that has to be tended to. So Obara Meji reminds us to think clearly before we act and to be a strategist. You have to be a strategist and learn how to play chess in this game of life. So we notice in the game of chess, the king has to be really careful. The king takes one move at a time, you see. Because in that particular game, once the king is knocked out, the game is over. Another thing, if you hear somebody who may be talking game and they have some influence, you might want to just not say anything and observe their behavior as well as their actions. Pay attention to what they say. This could be an opportunity for you to soak up game. Also, you have to learn how to pay attention to people. This way you observe their success, their strengths, their weaknesses, their failures. This way you can eat the meat and spit out the bone. A lot of times people will see those who are of influence and try to become their clone. And that's not the way to go about it. Because you are you. You can never really be like someone else. You can mimic people to a degree. But each and every one of us have our own mission to fulfill and purpose, in which we were given an assignment before we came into manifestation in this physical plane that we call Ikoli. So oftentimes we go through the fires of life, but this fire is a fire of purification and refinement. And you'll find that even though we may come across many challenges, we become mindful of the fact that these challenges are helping to shape our character, helping us to become stronger, more focused, and to learn from our mistakes. And here you're going to make mistakes. But the whole thing is to not quit and to not keep repeating the same mistake over and over again. Now, even with the most power that may be at our disposal, Obara Meji grants one with a lot of power when it comes to knowledge, information, the gift of gab. We must be mindful of the fact that other people may become envious of this power that they see in you. Now, we all have power, okay? But the thing about it is Obara Meji comes with an energy and a presence where people imagine this person to be dominant, or they may be seen as a person that's perpetrating, depending on the position. Whatever the case may be, Obara tends to invoke jealousy and envy in people, which is why it's good for you to always make sure that you're doing the right sacrifices and that you stay right with Eshu and the Orishas for those who are a part of this tradition. When this time comes up, it's not good to drink alcohol. Alcohol can be used against you. It can be used to bring shame and disgrace upon you. Or let's say that you are a king or a person of influence, and you go and visit another kingdom and they give you some alcohol and you start revealing secrets of how you run your kingdom. Or you might be the head of a corporation. You start revealing how you run it. You may reveal its strengths and its weaknesses. You start talking about the powers that you're tapping into. And because you're tipsy and that boastfulness is starting to come to the surface, you're just blabbing and people are listening. They're taking note. They may be laughing with you and everything else, but they're soaking up your game. And eventually, if you're not careful, they'll learn how to conquer your kingdom and you along with it. So you have to be careful. You know, people plan on conquering other people because in this culture, especially here in the West, it's all about competition. You're in a capitalistic society where people tend to figure out ways of how they can outdo someone else, steal their ideas, and advance their own corporation, their own business, or make your ideas seem like they were always their ideas. So these are things that you have to be mindful of. Drinking alcohol to the point of drunkenness is not a good thing. This Odu talks about it leading to disgrace, so I cannot stress that enough. You know, you also want to be careful and sober-minded and not become boastful because, you know, when we reveal our strengths and weaknesses, not only can things be used against us, but also you could be brought down in the public eye, slanders and everything else. A lot of times they talk about Shango being a real party sort of guy, and partying can make you popular, but you also got to be careful. There's been a lot of times when they done talked about all these scandals being connected to parties, especially when it comes to celebrities and things of that nature. So I'm not saying it's wrong to party. We want to have fun, you know. In fact, part of Obara Meji tells us to get up on out of our head and go and live your life. People often wrestle with the idea of becoming famous. You know, they become impatient. In fact, they become restless and impatient in their pursuit of fame and success. But this Odu also contains the story of Shango riding into battle on an elephant. That elephant is sacred to Obatala, and Obatala is the Orisha of purity, clarity. In fact, Obatala is the wisest of the Orisha. Obatala brings the coolness and the patience. In other words, what's being said is that the strength in which Shango will use to overcome and become successful and become the king who can never be taken off of his throne is with patience. Oh, there go those sirens. Anyway, sisters and brothers, may you have a wonderful evening or a wonderful day, wherever in the world you may be. Continue on your journey, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Odabo.